On the phone, I'd like to welcome Dwayne Sprague, our Police Services Advisor from the Ministry of the Solicitor General's Office, and Jill Sampson. Are you guys there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good stuff. And I'd also like, thank you. And I'd also like to welcome Tim Simmons, our new city manager, who's also on the line.
Good morning.
Welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
Moving along, if I could have a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
Also move.
Thank you.
Ian.
Jill, in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Carried. Okay, declaration of conflict of interest arising out of the matters listed on the agenda. Hearing none. Presentations, deputations, and public question period. Hearing none. Confirmation of the minutes of the public meeting held June 24th, 2020.
So moved.
Sure, thank you. For a second?
I'll second. Just a question.
Okay.
How are we handling public questions at the police board meeting?
They would be able to log into Zoom. The information is on the public website, as I understand it, on our public website of police services, and they could join the Zoom link.
So they don't need to write in ahead of time?
No, they do not. They may, they certainly may.
Yeah, okay.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor? Jill?
Yes.
Thank you. Business arising out of the minutes of the June 24th public meeting. Hearing none. Correspondence received. We received a letter from Georgian College Award recipient attached. I sent that back to the board, or sent it out to the board back July 24th, but placed it here so we don't have an official record of receiving that record. Moving along to Chairman's report, use of body cameras, request by the Ontario Association of Police Service Board. They provided us with correspondence they've received from the Privacy Commissioner, Trisha Cosi, regarding the use of body cameras. The Privacy Commissioner has asked us that all boards write back to her by October 13th to inform them of the following. Is your police service currently using body cameras? Does your police service plan to purchase or deploy body cameras on or before March 31st, 2020? And if the answer is yes to either of the above, they're asked to commit and consult with her office to help ensure that the key constituent elements of the effective governance framework are in place and to address any issues of transparency, accountability, and privacy in their respective jurisdictions. And I think Chief Ambrose may have a comment regarding body-worn cameras.
Yeah, certainly it's something that probably the province will move towards, and at some point it will be mandated, but at the current time, I don't know that the cost-benefit analysis would be such that it would be prudent to move forward. I think, Jeff, you look after many of the complaints. We had how many complaints last year and so far this year?
We had 2 last year.
Yeah. I'm not sure that we've had a complaint yet this year, so, I mean, that's the impetus across the province is moving forward because of complaints and issues, and we don't seem to have those, so I think we won't be rushing out to go and purchase this and spend the money. If it's something that's mandated at some point, then we'll have to examine how we move forward.
Dwayne, do you have any comments on this?
Lose them again?
Dwayne?
Unmute.
Yes, I'm here. No, I've heard the comments made, and there's nothing to add at this current time.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the item? Based on our chief's comments, then I think I'll write back to the Privacy Commissioner advisor of our current position at this point in time. The Ontario Association of Police Service Boards is hosting a labor seminar on November 12th and 13th. I sent this invitation out to you earlier in the week to give you an opportunity to check your calendars and see if you could or wanted to attend. I can make arrangements for the registration. I think the chief and I will be attending virtually. Would anyone else like to attend? Ian? Yeah, okay. No?
At what date?
November 12th and 13th.
Thursday, Friday,
9.
Not for me.
9 to 12.
Garth, yeah? Jill? Did you wish to participate?
Jill?
Unmute.
wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Jill, are you there?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay.
Are you able to attend the labor seminar
No, I don't
or
think I
want to? Okay,
saw
thanks.
the definition.
Claire's there. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jill. Claire, are you on the phone yet?
There's no beep to dial in.
All right, thank you for that. We'll move on to, item number 9, reports from Inspector Bishop, but since I don't see Inspector Bishop in the room, Craig, will you be doing his reports, or Jeff?
I'll be Dave today, as well as Suzanne and Kristen.
Oh,
Boy, versatile.
bring a few wigs.
So starting with the criminal investigations branch, busy summer. The branch investigated a variety of different occurrences, sexual assaults, thefts, frauds, et cetera. I'm just gonna touch on a few of them. Fairly extensive report here. Theft investigation was concluded with the arrest of a 39-year-old resident of Terra. Investigation determined that the man had stolen $4,600 from a bank account of his brother, who resides in assisted living, and majority of the funds consisted of served checks that the man received. The brother was charged with theft and released to attend a future court date. In another investigation in July, they investigated historical sexual assault and issued a warrant for the arrest of a former member of the Canadian military who was training in Meaford at the time. The offense occurred in 2015. The man's now believed to be residing in Saskatchewan, and we're currently looking at obtaining a Canada-wide warrant for arrest of the man. In August, we received a call from a frantic female advising that her son was currently being held hostage and tied to a chair with a bag over his head. Our uniform branch, of course, received that. They made entry on a residence in Owen Sound to ensure the safety of the people inside. Police determined that the male who had contacted his mother was inside and had staged the hostage situation in conjunction with a drug dealer in an effort to fool his mother into paying his drug debt, and he's been charged with conveying a false message under the criminal code. On August 11th, a search warrant was executed at a hometown townhouse on the east side as a result of a joint forces investigation with the child exploitation unit. 36-year-old man was taken into custody on charges of failing to comply with the release order due to a previous domestic violence victim in contact there. Several devices were seized in the residence. That will be forensically searched to verify the presence of child pornography. And on August 12th, members of the branch were conducting observations in the area of the West Side residence that we've had problems with. Continues to be a source of numerous complaints regarding criminal and drug activity, as well as noise complaints and trespassing. Officers observed a domestic dispute, and the involved parties were yelling obscenities between each other on the porch and the sidewalk. Both were bound by conditions not to associate with each other under previous court orders. They were both arrested, charged with causing a disturbance and failing to comply with their release orders. There's no questions regarding criminal investigations branch. I'll move on to drug enforcement and intelligence. On July 20th, the detectives arrested a 44-year-old Hanover man after a foot pursuit in the downtown. Police seized the man's motor vehicle and obtained a search warrant for it. They seized a large quantity of highly toxic fentanyl, as well as cash proceeds of crime and 2 prohibited weapons. This street value of the seized fentanyl and cash proceeds was in excess of $20,000. And police also seized the motor vehicle as offense-related property and charged with a variety of offenses, possession for the purpose of trafficking, possession of proceeds of crime, prohibited weapons, and possession of a weapon contrary to a prohibition order. On July 27th, members of the drug unit were conducting observations of 2 males believed to be involved in ongoing drug and property crimes. They were observed entering a parked construction trailer at OSPS and stealing an industrial-sized leaf blower, fled, and there was a foot pursuit, and police arrested the male and recovered the property. He was found in possession of purple fentanyl. The property was returned to the business owner. The man was charged and released on a future court date. On August 18th, members of the drug unit arrested a 32-year-old Saddle Beach man after he was found attending the residence of a domestic violence victim and not complying with his house arrest. Confronted by police in an Eastside apartment, and he attempted to resist arrest. He was found in possession of purple fentanyl and an imitation Glock firearm that bore a striking resemblance to the police-issued firearm. He was charged with numerous criminal and drug offenses and remanded into custody. And that is a summary of drug enforcement. Any questions on those reports? I can move on to my reports if you wish, unless you want to make a motion to accept Inspector Bishop's.
No, I think we just go over for information purposes only, we don't need to make a motion.
I'll move on to collision statistics. So, in June, July, and August, it's fairly consistent. 34 collisions in June, 35 collisions in July, and 31 collisions in August. Half of those collisions are generally handled by our collision reporting center, and the other half handled by our officers investigating the collisions.
What's an FTR?
Failed to review.
Okay.
Most of those occur in parking lots. People discovering that somebody hit their vehicle. There's no other questions. Moving on to the Community Services Office. I'm just going to go over some of the highlights. We were able to obtain a grant. Our Community Services Officer applied for a grant and to get funding to hire students through the Youth and Policing Initiative, and he was successful. 3 students were hired. They were outstanding in what they were able to achieve under the circumstances. There wasn't the number of events going on like there normally was, so they had to become innovative, use social media, and use other ideas to reach out to the public and to the youth. They did a positive ticketing program. They went around and engaged youth and provided coupons provided by Circle K and McDonald's to the youth. They were involved in a bike safety program for families and youth, and they partnered with Rogers Cable and did a video for that. Some of the media engagements on the dock, there was information provided when the Defund the Police movement was happening, when the Black Lives Matter March occurred. They provided information for that and engaged the organizers, and we had positive interactions with them, and we provided security for that march and ensured the safety of everybody involved in it. Also highlighted Pride Month, which was acknowledged on CBC Radio and the Sun-Times. Also engaged in partnerships with the Muslim Association, Native Cultural Center, and the new The Newcomer Family Program run through the Alliance Church. Did presentations on various groups to do with frauds and scams, worked with community living and the REACH program on COVID-19 related issues and transferring information to them. Also presented on bike and skateboard safety at the Family Center at Alpha Street and also out at 28th Street. And engaged in some of the little drive-by acknowledgements of some of the parades or the birthdays that were going on. And one lady celebrating her 99th birthday. And so the Yippee program with the summer students concluded at the end of August is very successful. Some of the social media stuff that was done engaging the youth was excellent. You see a picture at the bottom when we're talking about social media and some of the stuff that's being put on. We had an incident where a youth had gone missing, a small child, and was located by our officers in the woods near Harrison Park. And that picture and what we put out on social media reached 40,600 people. Excellent social media engagement.
Can I just comment on community policing and community safety officer? OPP doesn't have such an item, right? They certainly don't do it to the extent that we have in the proactive
Yeah, so that,
programs that we have and,
yeah, we have an officer dedicated
right.
to community services in the community. There's a need for it, and as far as OPG, they have some officers who are dedicated to school on a part-time basis, so that's what they're able to offer.
But this is a good proactive approach
Yeah.
for our community policing. Yeah, okay, thanks.
And in the last year, it's gone, the number of relationships and the number of programs and things that we've done have gone tenfold. And then certainly the work that our new member, Jason Craney's done has been outstanding.
He's great.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Moving on to lost hours and training, I've just summarized the summer months. So during June, we had a total of 230 hours of sick time. July was 186, and August 364. Some of that's attributable to injuries that members have as non-work related injuries. We've had one member off on WSIB through the summer. That being consistent. As far as training goes, we weren't able to get people away on courses as we normally would due to COVID and the restrictions at the police college. We did have a recruit attend OPC on June 24th in a compressed recruit program where they were attending 6 days a week, and they conclude their training on September 1st, and they're back with us now. Moving on to traffic enforcement. During the summer months, our officers laid 638 highway traffic act charges. There was 292 cautions or warnings, and 431 hours of foot patrol. There was 40 on-duty ride checks during the summer, involving just over 1,000 drivers checked, 9 HTA charges, 3 liquor charges, 2 Cannabis Control Act charges, and as well as impaired driving and refusing to provide a breath sample. And 7 people were charged with impaired or over 80 during regular patrols. I can move on to, board bylaw if you wish.
If anyone has any questions on the previous reports? Okay, go ahead.
So, the only thing to report on was there was 10, taxi driver's license issued or renewals, and 1 new taxi driver's license issued, and 2, adult entertainment licenses issued.
Can I just ask, in the adult entertainment industry, who polices for COVID issues there? Health unit, or is it acted on complaint?
Health unit provides, direction as far as the establishments, how business is going to be done, and sources there. Enforcement side, comes to us
Based on complaint.
but we also do, that's, as long as I've been here, we do checks on any establishment, that serve alcohol, and so we have our officers attending there as well.
Okay, thanks.
Want to make sure that they at least keep their masks on?
Well, I just thought it'd be kind of tricky. I've just heard things.
You need to do a recon mission.
Not me.
Undercover?
What's that one?
Moving on to court, so since March 27th, that was the last date that prisoners were brought to the Town Courthouse because of the new COVID-19 measures put in place. All prisoner appearances are done by audio appearance either from the correctional facility or at the, police service where they're in custody. So, we have 32 persons appeared by audio, from the police station. That's where their, court appearances are held, in link with the courthouse. And we had, 735 special constables, total hours.
That's 735, that's since March? That's in total, or is that just in the last month? Special constable total hours.
That was just during the month. Yeah, she has those divided up into 3 reports here. Of course, the special constables are still required to provide court security. The court building remains open to the public.
There we go, that answered my next question, thanks.
So, and just to touch on that, so one of the special constables assigned to courts is now here because of the in-custody hearings. So, and then as well, that we do at the front desk for courts, or two at the front of the court for screenings, and one as a rover to cover courtrooms. So the court security staffing levels really have changed slightly, but not a whole lot.
So, in the July report for the court, there was, 45 appearances, court appearances that were facilitated through, ourselves at the police service, and 810 special constable hours. And in August, 38 court appearances for persons in custody, and 764 special constable hours. There's no questions, I'll move on to records branch. So local criminal record searches are being completed and sent back to individuals within a week of submitting them. We're once again accepting criminal record check applications in person at the service, as well we're continuing on with our online process. There's a total of 3,272 bulk searches completed in July. Same data for August, criminal record checks being returned within 1 to 2 weeks of submitting them, and there was 2,807 bulk searches completed during August. That concludes Director Bloom's reports. I can move on, to Director Bell Matheson's report on dispatch. Just giving you a summary, there's quite a comprehensive package that's been provided to you with, various statistics from the dispatch center, but during June, there was 1,666 calls for service. Between 8 a.m. and midnight was the busiest time. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday were highest call volumes. Average response time from call entry to the scene was 13 minutes and 22 seconds, and average response time from officer being dispatched until they arrive on scene is 6 minutes and 33 seconds. In July, there was 1,669 calls for service. 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. was the busiest time. Tuesday through Saturday was the highest call volume. The call from call entry to arrival on scene was 12 minutes and 76 seconds, and from the time of dispatch, giving the call to the officer until arrival on scene was 6 minutes and 30 seconds. In August, there were 1,723 calls for service. Between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. was the busiest time, with Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday being the highest call volume. From call entry to scene was 13 minutes and 19 seconds, and from officer being dispatched till on-scene arrival was 7 minutes. And that concludes Director Bell Matheson's report.
Can I just highlight, for your purposes on pages 92, 96, and I will speak to the last one, which is page 101. The event count monthlies for June, July, and August. I'll speak to the August because it's obviously the most current, but if you look at that, you'll see the 2020 year-to-date for different call types, and the 2019 year-to-date broken down by different call types, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9. You'll see percentage in the actual increases of numbers, and then the percentage change year-to-date. Category 0 are down 15%, but you'll see a change in the others, 24%, 34%, 14%, 10%, 100%. Category 9 obviously wasn't tracked last year. But just bringing to your attention and highlight the fact that the monthly calls for service keeps increasing. And it's a significant increase over 2019, which was a significant increase over 2018. And obviously that call volume goes to demands on the officers and other things. So just to highlight the fact that there's rarely a time that there aren't calls in the queue waiting for an officer's response. And obviously by priority they respond to those calls. We're looking at some initiatives through the business implementation plan that we developed with the board earlier in the year on looking at call types and what types of calls get what type of response and things like that. But just to highlight that number keeps increasing and the number of people doing the work remains static. No further questions on that. I guess we're going to move to Director Hill.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, go ahead.
For June, July, and August, despite the COVID-19, and there were, I believe, 5 weeks of vacation between the two members, it was quite busy. We completed the rollout of our know-before-formalized computer training system, which is mandated as part of the RCMP and our optic membership requirements there. It provides feedback. We've actually got the city as well looking at purchasing the system. It provides reporting and feedback to managers and supervisors of training and what types of training. You can also use it for in-house training. It's primarily for computer awareness and response to ransomware and some of the more recent IT trends. We completed a time attendance migration project That allows us to replace the aging system with an entirely web-based system. It allows staff to book time off and requests from home. It also provides a stepping stone to integration with the city's financial system. We've had some discussions with them on how to tie those together for some savings and efficiencies in time. COVID-19 obviously was quite a big issue in issuing laptops, configuring people to work remotely in a secure environment. And there's some court video systems that have been deployed at the court and are still ongoing for here at the station. We have some Wi-Fi based laptops for the purpose of officer testimony, as well as video bails that will be coming forward next week. Ongoing next-gen 911 testing. In the summary of that, between July and August, we've actually completed our testing trials at this time. The Ontario Provincial Police, the Owen Sound Police, and one private entity are the only 3 in the country at this time that have completed that stage, so it's quite an achievement for us for being a smaller service. We're actually doing tests with the OPP, just the 2 public safety members, doing some transfer tests and moving things forward. There's no other agencies, public safety agencies in Canada that have got to our stage. We're essentially waiting for CRTC to release NG 911 to us, which will allow us to cut over our phone systems and progress forward and move that NG 911 to all of our dispatch clients. We also spend quite a bit of time on our ALPR, the automatic license plate recognition system. We have it here. The vehicle is here. It's actually being installed Monday through Wednesday of next week. I just have some signatures and paperwork to finish off today. So that will be as part of a human trafficking prevention grant. The chief might be able to speak more to on that. We onboarded West Grey Police Service to the mobile dispatch system that we already run with a few other police agencies, which increased the efficiency of our dispatchers as well as the officers on the road. And our mapping department has been quite busy with 2 maps, and we've actually engaged Metrolinx for GoBus, GoTrain, and all of their road network for creating a dispatch map for them, as they are now a Optic member. And lastly, we onboarded the Shelburne Police, and we're working on some upgrades for our interview rooms, which are partially COVID-19 related, for outfitting them for some upgraded equipment for video capabilities and remote interviewing. And that's our current status, as well as I have another page here for our NG 911 readiness. So just before you, there's essentially a summary of where we sit. We've completed the voice trials. The real-time texting is forthcoming with CRTC. We're just waiting on them to engage us as part of a pilot for that. And I'll give you a summary here. So just a brief summary of a couple paragraphs here of where we sit. We started a few years ago, and as I said, it's OPP, ourselves, and there's one private agency, I believe, in Quebec that does just 911. They don't do dispatching, just 911 answer. So we are ready, and we're ready to, once Bell and CRTC actually give us the notification, we can flip the switch and engage that. There's quite a bit substantial reporting and analytics that will come with this NG 911 that we'll be able to disseminate to partner agencies as well as use for ourselves for dispatch efficiencies. So the one change is with Next Gen 911, there is no longer a primary and backup dispatch location. It's a primary and an alternate. The alternate must have the full capabilities and redundancies of a primary dispatch site. So in the case before where you might have had 2 lines coming in for the primary site, you would have had 1 at the backup. Now it's 2 and 2 for fiber optics and all of those things. So the infrastructure, the amount of desks might change at a backup site compared to a primary, but now they're primary and alternate, so it's actually the capabilities are identical. So even if it's not staffed, those centers have to be fully equipped. The advantage of that, though, is that you can actually staff people at the alternate location. So with COVID-19, we actually have people at our alternate site doing some call answer right now, and that would continue. and you can actually work between the two locations seamlessly, whereas before you wouldn't have that capability with the 911 the way it is today. And that is the IT report for June, July, and August.
Okay, thank you, Director Hill. As there's no request for action, then any of the above reports that we've placed on files for future reference with the minutes. And now we'll move on to item number 14, financial reports from Chief of Police.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, in the package presented, there's obviously the month ends for June, July, and August because we haven't had a meeting. So, I'll just touch on the financial. The August one is probably more accurate, obviously, because it's more current. June projects a larger increase. July had a 3-pay period, so it balanced out. Currently we're operating at 0.95% below the actuals on the budgeted amount with our actuals overall. There's a few areas that are of interest. Officer wages are generally in line with where we're supposed to be. With the increases that were built in, and that's the majority of our budget. The civilian wages, there's some offsets between full-time and the part-time, where we're lower on full-time, we're higher on part-time, so there's a bit of an offset there. And generally, we've deferred some of our capital expenses, waiting to see where we sat for the year and where the city sat as a result of COVID. And obviously, our income on third-party records checks in some areas have gone down for COVID. So through consultation with Director Flood on finance, and in discussions with Kate at the city, I've been provided with the numbers from both, and both projectors that we will be slightly under budget by the end of the year.
Just a point to, when I'm doing my due diligence on Monday, which I probably should have done on Friday, I noticed that the last 2 pages of the August reports didn't get copied over, so that's why I've handed those out, and they will appear in the final report that gets posted to our website.
Thank you. So the only thing left then, if subject to any questions, would be on page 122, 123, and 124 of your agendas are the payments of accounts for approval for June in the amount of $37,682.26, July $29,562.65, and August $58,688.40.
Cards?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Cards. Okay, those bills, and seconder? All in favor? Bill on the phone?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to operating reports from the Chief of Police.
Computer logged me out. Right. So, there was a report, there was a request from the Director of the Criminal Justice Program and Civil Liberties Association regarding the use of the COVID-19 portal or database that was provided to us through the Ontario government as a result of COVID measures. And the accompanying report is for your information, part of the efforts to support emergency frontline responders. The government made access to to health information related to positive testing for COVID-19. They developed this portal, and we had access to that portal. It was provided to the communications branch, and there were strict directives around who was able to access that portal and for what purposes. There was some screening that was done, obviously, with each of the callers, so that we were trying to eliminate having to use the portal. It was only in certain situations when there was an unknown, or if there was some concerns, there were some queries made of the portal. It was determined that it wasn't all that accurate, and that it was less effective than asking the individuals and querying when the callers came through. There were concerns about not everyone who had a positive test was included. It was taking 4 days for the test to be uploaded. Not all lab results are included in the portal, and it was updated daily, but not in real time. So the determination was that it really wasn't all that useful, and we were going to use it very little. From the beginning, dispatchers were directed not to include any testing information with the CAD information, so none of the information from that portal was included into our database in any form. so it doesn't need to be removed. It was never included in the first place, and there's also an auditing component added. So it was determined that the Owen Sound Police Service conducted 156 queries. We were noted to be 23rd out of the 43 services that had access to the portal, but within the top 14 of the searches conducted per population of 100. It's important to note, though, that results don't take into consideration that we dispatched for the 6 other police services and 23 fire services, and we service a population of over 300,000 people, and if they were to factor that into the results, we are actually near the bottom. We're in the bottom 5 at 0.05% of queries. So that's an update on the portal information, and I'm not sure if you've been following it, but many of the services across Ontario have been reporting the boards and coming back with responses because of the serious concerns by civil liberties relating to public health information and access by police. I'm not sure whether the letter went to the board, and I'm not sure whether you want to provide them with some feedback, or...
Yeah, based on Suzanne's report and your comments, yeah, we'll be responding back to the solicitor and talk about that, giving them an update, because they've asked us to do that by November 1st or October 15th. I have it diarized to do that.
No questions on that. I can move to item B, the Community Foundation of Great Bruce Spring Community Grant to we were successful in the $3,000 grant to refurbish and upgrade our community safety village. It was getting a little bit worn. Some of the items and the buildings were dated and from being taken up and put down and packed away over the years. So we're working with the Community Safety Services Officer, Jason Crane, working with a number of other people to try and get those rebuilt and redone. And at the same time, update it so that it's more modern. It's a 1950s village now with a jail, a church, a police station, a city hall, all those things, and we're looking at how to become more relevant to the current times. Certainly the jail probably isn't the right thing to put in for the children's community safety village. We certainly don't want to highlight that. So.
How much was the grant?
$3,000.
So you know you can apply 3 years in a row for the same thing?
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay. We're also working on some other grants and funding opportunities as well.
This is for the foundation, so they will, yeah.
Okay.
Just on that, Craig, at the county, we put some money towards a established village that is somewhere between Durham and Hanover and Margaret, and I can't remember.
It's actually located at the headquarters conservation area. It used to be headquarters conservation area just south of Hanover, heading towards Newstead.
And it's established, it's there. Apparently, some of the schools are going there. It's got electrical, it's got everything. I wonder if there's more utility to instead of us moving one around, to send schools there.
So, we weren't connected to that safety village, and we weren't using that facility. Jason Craney's reached out to them, and I wasn't even aware of it when I arrived here.
It wasn't until a couple months ago, so.
We have a meeting booked with the coordinator there to go down and see the facility, see what they have to offer, and determine how we can use that to our advantage.
Good, thanks.
Next, announcement, it was out in the media. It's the Proceeds of Crime Frontline Policing grant through the ministry that we were successful in applying for. The grant, we're the primary for that grant. With the application involving also Saugeen Shores Police, Westray Police, Hanover Police, and Neshinimink First Nations Security or Police Service. It relates to a grant and improve upon victim support services for survivors of human trafficking, enhance the prosecution of those responsible for sexual exploitation crimes throughout our catchment areas in Grey and Bruce. Obviously, we want to work towards that, so the total grant funding allocated to us over the 3-year grant cycle is $315,260. There are a number of, the breakdown relates to investigative and as well support items. So we are in the process of implementing that. there's a position for an analyst to determine, the extent and to give investigative leads on human trafficking within our catchment areas. And as well, there's a lot of equipment that needs to be purchased, so we're in the process of, the first year making those purchases and moving forward with that. A lot of the grant money goes towards training for our members. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, a lot of the training that was anticipated when the application went in has been canceled, so we're looking at how to redisperse that money and what training will become available. But it's a great opportunity for all the police services to bring their people up to speed and do some training that we wouldn't normally have the budget money for, including some very costly IT or technical training for one of our officers on downloading cell phones and information for cell phones that would cross beyond the human trafficking realm and into all the other investigative areas, and that training alone is in excess of $20,000 for the course, so it's not something that we would normally have that opportunity to gather. And as well, some other training for one of our officers to enhance our ability to use technology and step away from actual physical hours and officer hours involved in investigations and go more technical and more high-tech so that we can make it more timely and lower our manpower, our staffing costs in those investigations. Just wanted to highlight that. It's a great opportunity, and it was a welcome announcement from the province.
Just a quick question. So you've got $315,000 spread over 5 different departments.
Oh, fine, yeah.
Is there one particular area or service that will take the lead? So I'm thinking if we had Hometown had the hardware and the training for the analysts and things like that, then the other 4 could feed their information into there, or how does that?
That's correct. So we're the recipients of the funds with those as partners, but we control the disbursement of that and we coordinate it on behalf of everybody else.
You're sort of the hub for all of the information.
Yeah. Right. And to highlight that, Inspector Bishop wrote that grant opportunity, and obviously, kudos to him. It was well written, and the partnership that we've established is between Hometown Police and our other services up here. Obviously, when you have 5 services going together to address and identify a problem, the province obviously sees that as a benefit that everybody's working together.
It's important.
So that's the proceeds of the grant. Court security and prisoner transportation was spoken to earlier, that we have currently the prisoners aren't being transported to courts. They are being held here, or they're being processed for the courts through the holding facility in Penetanguishene, Central North Correctional Center. There's a review being done by the province on that court security funding. I've asked our policing advisor through the ministry to be part of a review of stakeholders for that review. And it also includes municipalities and other justice sector partners, so I think it would be important that everybody participate, because the court security costs are borne by the city of Hometown and Hometown Police Service, and the court obviously serves a much larger jurisdiction than that, although it's located in the city of Hometown, so it's something that needs to be addressed. So I will include my comments to the stakeholders, but I'll make sure that the other members, like the city manager and others, are aware that the opportunity presents to present to the stakeholders, and I've reached out to some of the other services as well that are in the same situation as we are. Just want to highlight that that hasn't been confirmed moving forward for 2021. Reopening of the courts. The courts have never really closed completely. There's always been an online forum. The court doors are open. There are courtrooms that are sitting, but the majority of them are sitting virtually. As a result, there's been some expenses to the police service in order to create online and virtual courts in our facility, both for in-custody people as well as our officers, so they can remotely testify from an office here in the building. So there's been some expenses related to that and COVID that we've had to absorb into our budget, on how to participate and how to access that. The, access to the emergency alert system for Ontario, there's been some, update on that. Much like the, Amber Alert system, the, access now for notifying the public in the event of an emergency. There's a procedure that's been put in place as a result of, some incidents across Canada, that there were some questions about getting information to the public. So that requires the officers to contact the OPP Emergency Operations Center, so that they can make that, access to the media and out to the public as quickly as possibly. There's certainly, some criteria that have to be met. It has to be, in order to be issued, it must meet the following urgency, it has to be immediate, severity, obviously has to be secure, and the certainty, and it has to be confirmed that there's an ongoing public safety event, and that the threat is neither isolated nor contained. So, the procedures in place, just, something that makes it a little bit more clear as to how and when and why we would contact, for in an emergency situation. So that's a welcome, have that structured. There's a request for activation form that, obviously you have to meet all those protocols, or you won't be, able to post that information. Prior to that, it was basically a decision of the police service, and whether or not the, information went forward was, at the discretion of the people involved. There's a letter of support from a citizen that's been attached, for your information. I won't go through it, it just, talks about, partnerships with the police and understanding the community and my response in relation to how we're moving forward with that at the present time. There's also one related to missing persons, that was located, and there are systems.
I think they're both very good reflections on what the department's doing. And often people will not say good things, well, lots of say bad things, but when they're really impressed, they're easily going to say good things about a service, and I've seen that there.
I think it's important for our members to, get that feedback as well. The next is the police transition protocol, with the hospital-grade youth health services. And, the protocol is designed to enhance collaboration between the hospitals and the police with the purpose of improving outcomes for individuals who have been apprehended by police officers under the Mental Health Act and subsequently accompanied to the nearest hospital emergency department for mental health assessment and examination by a physician. The intent of the protocol is to, 1, improve outcomes for individuals apprehended by police under the Mental Health Act while respecting individuals' rights and hospitals' obligations to protect the privacy of personal health information, and 2, improve transitions between police officers and hospital workers, and 3, improve the coordination and collaboration among the parties involved in the transition and transfer of custody. So this has come out as a result of, many years of discussions between the Ministry of Solicitor General and the Ministry of Health, and the common, discussion about the number of police cars sitting outside the emergency room and how long they sit outside the emergency and everything else. So the ministries have come together along with the, working group from the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, and they've come up with this protocol and turnover. So, it improves outcomes for people experiencing a mental health and addiction-related crisis, decrease police officer wait times, and ensure that the safe and effective transfer of custody of an individual, protect the safety of patients, hospital staff, police, and the public through system improvements, to provide a common approach to communications between police and the hospital staff, and to support the sharing of personal information and personal health information while respecting the parties' rights, respective legislative obligations. So, basically what it is the hospitals agreed that they will, prioritize, response from the police and do their best to take over that individual in a much more timely and streamlined fashion. The police will complete a basic mental health screener form, so that, there's been a lot of issues with the police bringing people in and the hospital not understanding exactly what's being said there. So there was some language that was of concern, so they've gone to this mental health screener so that when the police fill in the form and the hospital look at it, they're on the same page and the information's exactly what they need in order to make their determination. And, there's also joint training with hospital staff, as well, that comes as part of this agreement protocol, so that, everybody understands what the issues are and the concerns, so that, when they come in with an individual, they can speak the same language and understand exactly how it's being implemented. So all the police services and the hospitals covering Grand Bruce are parties and signatures to the protocol that just got adopted.
Long time in the works.
It was a long time in the works, and I know that, Mr. Pearson had tended down to the announcement last fall with us, and it's still been 6 months, 8 months to get it moving, COVID-related delays, but, finally in place and signed, and everybody's on the same page. So the training and the transfer custody form and the basic mental health screener are being implemented as soon as the hospital has their training done. Ours has been completed, and our refresher training's been provided to all of our officers as well, now that it was anticipated it would be in the spring, but with COVID there was a delay, so we'd already done the training in our early session in January, for in-service training, so there was a refresher provided to each of the platoons. The masonry repairs to the station, it was obviously deferred from 2020, and, we're examining some less costly options for 2021 to deal with the issues that we have, identified with, bricks falling and water getting behind and causing it to pop out. So, working with the city manager and city facilities in order to address that issue moving forward. My activities are listed there for June, July, and August. Several, obviously, it's a little bit different, not leaving the office as much, but certainly spent my hours and days on Zoom and meetings and every other format, in order to go and meet with people and talk to people and become involved and continue what we're doing. So if there's any questions, those are my reports.
Hearing none, as there is no request for action of the chief's report, they will be placed on file with minutes for future reference. And number 16, other items of new business, and I think Inspector Flooney, you have a report there.
Yeah, it's, correspondence from our community services officer, Jason Cranny, to the board, asking for sponsorship, for the Cufflinks Golf Tournament. Cufflinks is a tournament that we ran for a number of years. We moved away from it, for a couple of years and, looked at different things, but now we're moving back to that. And it's quite a challenge this year because of COVID to try and run it. Cufflinks funds, our school programs such as, the kids program. And so he's going to run a scaled-down version of the Cufflinks Golf Tournament on October 2nd at Legacy Ridge. And the goal is to not only raise money to support our own programming through the community services office in the schools, but also to help the wonderful families and individuals with special needs who use the Reach Center of Grey Bruce, who works with adults with developmental disabilities. So the Reach program has 4 full days of programs run out of the Georgian Shores United Church in Owen Sound. They serve over 40 young adults who experience a diversity of challenges and strengths. Participants of the REACH program help to co-create stimulating and varied programming suited to their individual interests and motivations. During the past several months, REACH has struggled to meet funding needs due to the pandemic. Staff and volunteers have done their best to support the families in crisis through the pandemic. However, they are now at 60% capacity and have suffered the loss of service fee revenue by over 40% and had to cancel their major fundraisers. And on top of all that, had to increase staffing costs to ensure participant safety in compliance with public health directives. In order to increase awareness and funds for all of our school programs and community programs, as well as assisting the REACH program, we rely on the help from our generous community. We're hoping the police board would be willing to be a sponsor for our tournament, thereby supporting the aforementioned programs.
Any questions to suggest?
We already have something in the budget to support.
So historically, I believe the board had contributed, $2,000 in the past to the Cufflinks, golf tournament.
When we did that in the past, the money was to run our own school programs, though, correct?
So, it's the same situation in this case, it's just a different, organization that we're assisting, so it's for running the school programs, but it's also to assist the REACH program. In the past, we had given part of the money to, Special Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have we heard from Special Olympics?
No, with
It's
our.
a lot of the same people, perhaps participants, but different organizations.
So this is more localized, though, is that correct?
This is
Yeah.
more localized, Roland Sound, with the REACH Center, and that they were identified as, a program in real need of some help.
So the Special Olympics was more regional than just Owen Sound Special Olympics.
Yeah, I think too, the Special Olympics is the charity of choice for the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, and so they're one of the main contributors to the torch run and various activities. Their activities aren't proceeding as they would normally either as a result of COVID, but they're doing all virtual games and things like that. So then they're doing a virtual torch run, they're doing all the same activities, so their funds are gonna reduce, but so are their demands, to actually host games and things like that, so I don't think it matters what service or, charity you're working with, everybody's costs have gone, stayed the same or gone up or, are mitigated, but their fundraising is, everybody's hurting right now. But certainly REACH is a local charity that involves a number of the same participants probably, and this is an opportunity to just focus it towards the local side.
Okay. Thanks.
I'd be happy to move that we support in the amount of $2,000 the Cufflinks on the 2nd of October.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Jill on the phone?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think our contribution will be small and insignificant in relation to the amount of other support that they get for that conference, for the tournament. They look for sponsored golf clubs.
All right, moving on to item number 17, as the board has dealt with all of the items on the agenda and there being no additional business conducted, hereby declare the meeting be terminated. Our next meeting will be October 28th here at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And we'll now reconvene for the,
We'll need Chris to make some changes here, I guess.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Leonard, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.